Hello, everyone. My name is Nichel Anderson. I'm your host for my podcast show, Surviving Your Journey Towards Success. Today is a bonus that I felt to release a very quick podcast, mainly because the recent events that I just have to say something and regarding the recent incident in New Zealand, as well as last weekend in Africa, and the ones with regarding the plane and those families or the grief that they have to go through, as well as a couple of months ago about the other plane. And when so far as they're looking at it, it does show that the plane itself, let's just say choices could have been made differently, or everyone could have been on the same page that could have avoided what occurred. And my heart goes out to the family, especially when incidents like this happen and you don't, it's a shock and you don't expect it. And then when they do the investigation of it, or so far the analysis of it, it shows that choices was made not in the proactive way that will make us feel that humanity is coming first. Sometimes we can get lost in the details and this and that, but the bottom line, we have to secure and protect humanity. And then this last incident that I'm hearing about in New Zealand, and I was just kind of taken aback because you don't really get to hear things like that compared to here in the States. And here in the States too, I mean, it's like the same thing, especially with African American males. It's just, just completely wild of every time you turn around, it's some type of violence when we're dealing with differences or what have. And sometimes it just wear on your heart. So I just felt to kind of drop a quick bonus of my thoughts of that and to provide some motivational, inspiration to try to put it in perspective that it can kind of give somebody solace that's affected by it, or at least looking at, because it's hard to look at what's going on in the news. It's hard when they report things like that, because you sit there and you're thinking like, why is this happening? How you lose hope. So I'm going to make this podcast short, but those three incidents are, like I said, that the initial plane that was a couple months ago, last year, and they're realizing about that issue of what's going on, and now pretty much all the countries are having that particular plane grounded, as well as here in the United States. It finally got done this week. And just to kind of look at the power of choice, and also the way that we value ourselves, and when we don't, we end up doing things that it's not in the proactive means of keeping humanity whole and forward. So it was a press conference. She's the prime minister of New Zealand, and it was a beautiful speech. I didn't get to listen to the whole thing. I caught parts of it, but I did remember a quote that she said. She said, "They are among us, but not of us." And I just thought that was so powerful, and it gave me hope. And sometimes when we're going through that, you question it. I'm being real with you. And you're like, why could that be so? Why? Now it's 2019. Can we just move forward? And it doesn't happen. And it helps when you're on the journey and someone say something that give you that infusion of more of positivity. Because you inundated with negativity, and the negativity over time is not good for you. So that was really the reason why I wanted to talk about this, because it's a question that I like to often say: what is the state of mankind? What kind of man is thee? When I present that out, it's mainly asking you, when you look at yourself and you feel that you present and you give out positivity, and the other person does not, in the case of point of what's going on now in the world, right? What's happening over there. Like I mentioned, it makes you question, it makes you feel that not that many people have hope in humanity. When we need that encouragement to see that, that's where it comes to you out of the blue. And after I was in learning what was going on in New Zealand, and then thinking about what happened about that plane in South Africa and so forth, sure enough, you get what it's given to you. Spirit give to you what you need to reassure you and to keep moving. And what that was someone provided a quote from Mr. Rogers. He was a very famous an American television host. He had a show, and I used to watch it when I was a little girl. Anyhow, and I want to share that quote that made me remember my childhood and remember how I experienced the same thing that Mr. Rogers described. So here's the quote. He said, "When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, 'Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping.'" I don't have the date on it. I just have a picture of him and his quote. And it also, like I said, made me remember when I was a child and I used to watch his shows. They were always positive. You always learned something. He always gave you a little nugget, you know? And we say nugget in that sense here in the States, of some wisdom and make you think about it. Just really brought a lot of comfort to me. And then with that, it makes me feel what I'm doing now, doing these podcasts, that he was one of those mentors that I didn't even realize that that was motivating me. One of those mentors that came in my life to help me to be able to still look at life in a way that you can still move forward even though difficult times. And the person that posted it, she also wrote something else. Her quote was, "Look for the helpers. Always look for the helpers. This woman and others like her help maintain the tattered shreds of your faith in humanity." I thought that was so deep as well. So at our times of need, life, God, what you believe in, and the people that are around you that care for you will be there at the right moment. And that particular quote by the one that posted Mr. Rogers' picture and his, sharing of his childhood with his mother helped him through difficult times like you see now. We are bombarded with this horrific news that's going around, that's happening in different parts of the world. Was a lady that I didn't catch her name, I didn't write her name down, but anyhow, she was being interviewed and she came onto the scene and she said two of the victims, literally just like they laying it right at her feet. She was in a car though, how she was describing, oh, my heart just went out to her, and how she felt she had the courage to help. And she just described the whole emotional experience, and everybody was moved. I'm moved, and I'm way over here in the States. It just reinforced and the hope within humanity, even within those segments within it that seek to destroy or seek to go to the opposite of good. You will find the helpers, people that show up at the right time. Just like for me, and my heart ached right on top, like I said, of what happened last week in Africa with the plane, and learning last couple of months the same. It's like all this could have been avoided, and all those people and all the family. My heart was just already burdened with that, pain with that. And then this right here happening in New Zealand, it's like I would never even. And then you see that it can happen not only anywhere, but it rises to an occasion that we still come together and help. And that's the hope. And when I was going through that, out the blue, I saw someone upload a picture of Mr. Rogers, and his whole persona, his whole personality was always cool, calm, and collected. And he always spoke to you as he was not only teaching you of a role model, a father, a figure of someone that continue to want to educate you on the positivity of life, what you can get from it. The differences don't separate us. The differences actually bring us together to bring the flavor of life. And that's what I got from him. And that's what, I don't know who she was, but she uploaded and posted that, which I'm going to post on my Twitter page as well. And she put her own take on that too, by that lady that was talking about her experience and how she was on the scene and helped those two victims, and how she was describing that to, like, thank God that someone was there, especially in those moments. And it gives you the hope. And I feel like hope is actual in action that pushes us to move beyond the negative, so we can see, or at least what we see in the present, or the before of the loss. All of us, one way or the other, experience loss, and it's very, very painful when we go through that. And so for some that experience the loss, it's the worst. It's the worst emotional pain. There was no preparation for it, so the pain goes real deep. And as our heart breaks and our mind wrestle with the confusion and the despair to why and what, a thought came to me when I wanted to do this podcast. Just upload it and try to put it out there, and to help of anybody, or just to kind of have a quick discussion about it. I remember Rodney King, and he got beaten up real bad when I was growing up, but I was like a young teenager. It was all on the news and everything, and I never forget his quote that kept playing over and over. That I remember, he said, "Why can't we just get along?" And it's still relevant today. Isn't that amazing? It's still, the differences for some choose a different path to balance that out, but he was right. Why can't we just get along? And that just made me think when I was writing in my quick notes of what I want to say for this podcast here. And it just made me really think about that. Like, God, like, when is it ever going to end? When can we see past that? And that's where you have to hold on to the hope. So how can hope be within humanity when we see others or other groups of those in a way that want to be filled with insecurity and fear of differences choose to harm people of humanity that just want to live their life, want to be with their family, want to be in peace, want to have mental peace, want to be spiritual peacefulness. They go about their lives, and then they get in, I guess they symbolize something that the other person seek. And so just within, it comes within how you feel about yourself. And my heart just goes out to the family that has to deal with that, because it's a lot. It's a lot. It's very deep on the loss, especially when it's just tragic like what's going on right now. And when we get to hear that lady that said she just ordinary day, and it just landed right on her, just right there, right at her feet. She didn't run away. She did what humanity supposed. Humanity is a circle of life. A circle is a continuation. It doesn't stop. It doesn't break. It supports the next part. If you think about it, if everyone holds their hand into a circle, everybody's hand is connected to the person to the left and to the right. Don't break that. And she decided not to break the link, even though those individuals experienced the break in the shred of humanity. It's to preserve humanity, not destroy it. And she came across that right there and decided to do something about it, even though, 'cause that's horrific when you think about it. And for her to be able to keep going and to be able to do as time was ticking as what needed, is like a hero, like people said. It's touching, that it gives you that hope that we do have people that care and think forward and think in a positive way. Because I believe the end of all of this humanity, we have to look at it that through light will bring forwardness out of the darkness. Light always wins in the end. That's the purpose of life. And then our prayer and meditation and positivity, we have to continue to be a part of the true intent of humanity, not the opposite of that. To one another, so we can grow with one another, respect one another, and our differences, that I believe is the fabric of the diversity of what humanity is. And our differences is the fabric of the diversity of what humanity truly is. At the end of the day, that's what it is. So I'm sending prayers to family, friends, people that know, anybody that's been in what's going on in New Zealand and South Africa, or Indonesia, here in the United States. It's always something going on in the sense of just choosing a way to deal with the imbalance of self instead of seeking help, seeking a way to come to terms of our differences and removing the hate. Hate doesn't grow. Hate destroys. And so the true humanity, the true humans of humanity have to continue to stay positive and refuse to lose hope, and to know that there are others feel the same way and want positivity, love, respect, peace, happiness, joyfulness. It does exist. It does matter. And in light will shine through. Thank you.